What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Casey Fowler, one half of the Fowlers podcast, and I'm back with the Melanin Warriorz podcast presents the ancient gods of Egypt. We're gonna talk about Sekhmet this time, man. So let's get it. All right, guys, so welcome back to the Melanin Warriorz presents the gods of Egypt, or the Neteru, which is how they are properly described. On this one, we will discuss Sekhmet, the Neter of war, chaos, and healing. She was created from the fires of Ra's eye when he looked upon the earth, becoming Ra's firstborn. It was said that she was created as a weapon to destroy humans for disobeying Ra and not living the principles of the Ma'at. Some depict her as being the daughter of Geb and Nut. Sekhmet is depicted with the body of a woman and the head of a lioness wearing a sun disk on her head. She is the protector of all who worship her, and in ancient Egypt led pharaohs in warfare. When she was her calmer self, she took on the form of the household cat Netert goddess, whichever one you want to call it. The proper term is Netert, but everybody else knows them as goddesses. So she took on the Neter Paset until they ultimately separated into two separate entities. This was due to their extremely different characteristics. Sekhmet was more, ferocious and aggressive, and Bastet was, she was really calm, composed, and everything like that. So if you are a friend of Sekhmet or worship her or work with her, she would avert plagues and cure diseases. Sekhmet was also called by some Sekhmet the bloodthirsty because she enjoyed the taste of blood. So to celebrate her, the Egyptians would have festivals where they drank beer with pomegranate juice. During the celebration, they would put up a statue dressed in red facing the west. So in myths about this amazing deity, there's a story known as the destruction of mankind. The story goes on to say that long ago, when the Neteru, or the gods and goddesses, lived among men, a rebellion was started to overthrow Ra. Even though Ra was a god or a Neter, he was growing older and weaker by the day. Then one day, the humans decided he was no longer fit to rule them. Before the rebellion, Ra had already passed the throne and returned to the Nun, which is the pre-creation or the primordial area where, nothing existed, or the Nun is what they called it. But he was mad with humankind and took one of his eyes, which transformed into Sekhmet. He then ordered the eye to strike the men with a heat close to the sun's heat. The desert was dyed red with human blood. That gave Sekhmet her other name as ruler of the Red Sands. So while the eye was killing the rebels one by one until the sands were covered with bodies, everything was covered. Then, temporarily satisfied, Sekhmet returned victorious to her father Ra. But she didn't stay there, guys. Sekhmet continued killing every man and woman she could find for a few days after her victory. Eventually, Ra decided that they had been punished enough and decided to spare the rest of humanity. Ra then had to figure out how in the world he was going to stop her. He commanded her to stop. Of course, that was always the first option, but that didn't work. She continued to killing every man and woman that she came across. So because she began to enjoy the taste of human flesh, it was said that the only way to stop her was by getting her drunk. So Ra brought a red pigment from the desert and ground it in a powder, then mixed it with beer. Then he made 7,000 red beer jars and poured them into the Nile. When Sekhmet saw the liquid, she thought it was blood. So she drank and she drank until she fell asleep. When she woke up, she forgot about her mission to kill all of humanity and returned to Ra. The goddess of many, ferocious to her enemies and gentle to her friends. She is also seen as a mother figure due to how she protects her followers and destroys her enemies, kind of like the lioness does with her cubs. She is a true goddess or Neter of ancient Egypt and an amazing yet violent mythology that follows her with the whole destroying all of humanity thing. So join me next week at our regular time right before the holidays for the ancient Egyptian god Khonsu. And remember, guys, if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. It's your boy. Let's go.